Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to go into chapter 9, which is on nutrition and the human digestive system. But today we will only focus on 9.2 because 9.1 is on the digestive system. That means how the digestive system look like. It's just a long alimentary canal which you have already learned in your form 2. But I will recap a little bit in this subtopic so that you don't miss out on it. Okay, shall we start? Okay, so the learning standard in this chapter is that first you should be able to describe the types of digestion. There are two types, the physical digestion and the chemical digestion. Then you must be able to analyze the process and products of carbohydrate digestion in the mouth. Then the same thing, analyze the process and products of protein digestion in the stomach, and describe the digestion of carbohydrate, proteins and lipids in the small intestine. Now here let's recap a little bit, okay, from subtopic 9.1, where you should be able to identify some of the structure of all the structures from the human digestive system. So we have here, we have the mouth, okay, esophagus, liver, stomach, pancreas, small intestine, and the large intestine. Also not forgetting the anus. So the alimentary canal starts from the mouth till the anus. Okay, so these are some of the function of each structure. Okay, now we know that food moves down the esophagus, correct? But how? Gravity or any other mechanism? Yes, it is true, peristalsis. So this is also something you have learned in your form 2. Okay, let me ask you a question. Now, can you swallow food if you stand upside down? Fun fact, yes, you can. Well, food does not require gravitational force to move down the alimentary canal to the stomach. But due to the movement of food by peristalsis, food can actually reach the stomach even though you are hanging upside down. It's difficult to eat upside down, but possible. Okay, now what is digestion? Digestion is the process that breaks down large and complex pieces of food into smaller and simple pieces of food that can be dissolved for easy absorption. Okay, small food molecules can pass through the walls of small intestine and then dissolve in the bloodstream. Well, large food molecules cannot do this, so that's why we need to digest. So carbohydrate is a large molecule where it will break down into glucose, fructose and galactose. Okay, protein will be broken down into amino acid and fat molecule will be broken down into glycerol and fatty acid. So this is the product of digestion. So how digestion happens, you will see in this subject. Okay, now, so digestion is made up of two parts, correct? That is physical digestion and chemical digestion. So physical digestion is the mechanical breakdown of food to form small particles, which in this case involves chewing and peristalsis. Chemical digestion, on the other hand, is the decomposition process of complex molecules into simple molecules. And this process involves the enzymes reaction. Okay, so how do digestive enzymes help the process of digestion? Well, they help in breaking down large insoluble molecules into smaller soluble molecules so that the molecules can be absorbed in the bloodstream. Okay, another question. What was the last meal you had? Yeah, mine was burger. So, okay, so now, does it contain all nutrients? Carbohydrate, what else? Starch, which is part of carbohydrates, proteins, lipids, vitamins, fiber, whatever. Okay, so now you should know that all large molecules of food or the nutrients that you eat will be directly absorbed in the blood capillaries or not. No, usually the large molecules cannot be absorbed directly in the bloodstream. But if you have like vitamins and minerals, they are quite easily dissolved in your bloods or cells. So now, how does the digestion of all these large molecules happens in the alimentary canal? Since large molecules cannot pass through the plasma membrane and enter the body cells. So what are the products of this digestion? Okay, forget it. Now, let's imagine, okay? Or you can grab a bread, or you imagine the bread is in your mouth, okay? Or if you have a bread, put it in your mouth. Now, don't swallow. Just leave it there. Now, wait for 1 minute. And what would you notice about the flavor of the bread? Is it sweeter? Why? Well, bread is rich in starch, correct? But simple sugars taste sweet. So, breaking down starch from a bread makes simple sugar. Okay, yes, so from here you know that digestion of carbohydrates starts in the mouth. Okay, but by end of this lesson, you should be able to know the digestion process and the products in the mouth, stomach, and the small intestine. Right? Okay, now let's start with digestion of carbohydrates in the mouth. Physical digestion begins in the mouth when an individual is chewing and grinding food into smaller grains. Okay, the movement of tongue helps to mix the chewed food with saliva. The presence of food in the mouth will stimulate the secretion of saliva from salivary gland. There are three types of salivary gland. You don't need to name. Okay, salivary glands secrete saliva. Now, the saliva contains salivary amylase, a type of enzyme that hydrolyzes starch into maltose. Hydrolysis, breakdown. Hydrolysis, remember hydrolysis, addition of water to break down molecules. Alright, so saliva helps food to form bolus and makes it easier to be swallowed. Okay, so you can see there the bolus. Alright, so when swallowing, the epiglottis will close the trachea opening, okay, to prevent food from entering the trachea. Now, in the esophagus, the food bolus is moved by peristalsis. Alright, and peristalsis pushes the bolus through the esophagus till it enters the stomach. Alright. Okay, next we will see digestion of protein in the stomach. Now, in the stomach, no lipid digestion takes place, whereas starch digestion is halted due to the acidic condition of the stomach. Alright, so now the surface of the stomach wall is lined with epithelial cells. Okay, we have three types of epithelial cells, which is the chief cell, alright, parietal cell, and mucus cell, okay, that have undergone adaptation in structure and function to form gastric glands. Now, these gastric glands secretes gastric juice. For example, the chief cells secrete pepsinogen, the parietal cells secrete hydrochloric acid, and the mucus cells secrete mucus. Okay, now pepsinogen is an inactive enzyme that is activated by hydrochloric acid to become pepsin. Alright, then pepsin then will hydrolyze protein into polypeptides. Alright, we also have renin, actually, one of the gastric juice secreted by the gastric glands, which helps in coagulating milk and also converting caseinogen, a type of soluble protein, into Kssm, an insoluble protein. Right? Okay, now let's look at the function of hydrochloric acid and also mucus. So now hydrochloric acid provides a suitable pH medium for pepsin to egg, and it also stops the enzymatic action of salivary amylase, and it also kills bacteria in the food. So if you have bacteria in food, it's usually killed when it reaches the stomach. Now, function of mucus is to protect the stomach wall from the reaction of hydrochloric acid and also the digestive enzyme. Alright, so now the food in the stomach is mixed with gastric juice made up of hydrochloric acid and pepsin. Food is churned by peristaltic action of the stomach walls, okay, for a few hours, and the content of stomach finally will change into a semi-fluid called chyme. Chyme will then enter the duodenum slowly when the sphincter muscle relaxes. Okay? Now, did you know that the stomach volume is about 1.5 liters? But the stomach wall is also very elastic and it can increase its volume 3 times. Meaning 3 times 1.5, about 4.5 liters. Just imagine drinking 3 Coca-Cola bottles. Yeah, that much of volume that it has. Okay, now let's look into the digestion of carbohydrate, protein and lipid in the small intestine. Now, the small intestine consists of duodenum, jejunum and ileum. Duodenum is the first part of the small intestine which receives chyme from the stomach. Okay, duodenum also receives bile produced by the liver and pancreatic juice secreted by the pancreas. Okay, what is bile and what is pancreatic juice? Now, bile is an alkaline yellowish green fluid. Okay, bile is produced in the liver and it is stored temporarily in the gallbladder. Okay, so bile in the gallbladder is secreted via bile duct into the duodenum when needed. Okay, what does bile do? Bile salt will emulsify lipid by reducing the surface tension of large lipid globules and breaking them into fine lipid droplets. Okay, bile also neutralizes acidic chyme and provide an optimum pH for enzyme reaction. Okay, now pancreatic juice. Pancreatic juice is formed in the pancreas and it is channeled through the pancreatic duct, okay, into the duodenum. Okay, so pancreatic juice is alkaline as it aids in neutralizing the acidic chyme from the stomach and also creates an optimum pH for enzyme action. Okay, pancreatic juice contains trypsinogen, pancreatic amylase and lipase to digest protein, starch and lipid respectively. Okay, now let's look into intestinal juice. Intestinal juice secreted by the intestinal glands which contains enzymes such as enterokinase, erepsin, maltase, sucrose, lactase and also intestinal lipase. Alright, so these enzymes function to complete the digestion process initiated by the enzymes in the pancreatic juice. So the duodenum, which is the first part of the small intestine, receives chyme from the stomach, bile from the gallbladder, pancreatic juice from the pancreas and intestinal juice from the wall of the small intestine. Okay? Alright, now let's move on to the digestion of protein, carbohydrate and lipids in the small intestine. Now, digestion of protein. Okay, in the duodenum, the trypsinogen is converted by the enterokinase into trypsin. Trypsin will then digest the polypeptide from the digestion of stomach into peptides through hydrolysis process. And in the ileum, the erepsin completes the hydrolysis of peptides into amino acid. In the small intestine, so polypeptides are now broken down into amino acid by the help of enzymes. Next, let's look at the digestion of carbohydrate. Carbohydrate digestion begins in the mouth, correct? And is continued in the small intestine. Now, in the duodenum, the pancreatic amylase hydrolyzes starch, glycogen and small polysaccharides into maltose. Maltose, a type of disaccharide. Now, maltase from the intestinal juice will hydrolyze maltose into glucose. Lactase from the intestinal juice also will hydrolyze lactose. Lactase hydrolyze lactose into glucose and galactose, which are a type of simple sugar. Also, sucrase from the intestinal juice will hydrolyze sucrose, a disaccharide, into glucose and fructose, which are simple sugar, which are found in fruits. Okay, now lipid digestion. Okay, lipid digestion begins and ends in the small intestine. The process begins with the emulsification of lipid into fine droplets through the action of bile salt. Then, the lipase in the pancreatic and intestinal juice will hydrolyze the fine lipid droplets into fatty acid and glycerol. So, the last product of lipid is fatty acid and glycerol. So in short, the physical and chemical digestion that begins in the mouth and ends in the small intestine converts carbohydrate into monosaccharide or simple sugar, which are glucose, fructose and galactose. Protein is converted into amino acid, whereas lipid is converted into glycerol and fatty acid. Clear? Well, fibers are not digested because the human digestive system do not produce cellulase to digest cellulose or fibers. And vitamins, minerals and water molecules are simple enough to be absorbed into the body and it does not require digestion. So the main molecules that require digestion is carbohydrate, protein and lipid. Okay, now let's go on to the rapid fire round. Okay, the first question that I'm going to ask you, you have to be really quick. Okay, it's quite simple. Now, where does the bile go after it leaves the gallbladder? It goes into the duodenum. Alright. Okay, next question. Which organ is primarily responsible for protein digestion? 1, 2, 3. Yes, it's the stomach. Okay, next. The third question is, where does fat digestion begin? In the small intestine. Correct. Okay, next question. Where does starch digestion begin? 1, 2, 3. It's in the mouth. Yes. Alright, brain twister. Why are there more overweight people than overweight animals? Probably because most animals eat because they are hungry and people often eat because it is something that they enjoy. Yeah. Now, why does your stomach growl when you are hungry? Well, gases in stomach and in the small intestine make a gurgling sound when the stomach is almost empty. It's the gases. Okay, now if we take the acid pH value about 1.5.2 to 2, which is in the stomach, it can actually dissolve razor blades. But why doesn't this acid eat through the lining of the stomach? Well, the lining of the stomach has mucus. Mucus protects the lining of the stomach from acids in the gastric juice. Okay, with that we are done for today's lesson. but you need to answer questions from Formative Practice 9.1 in page 150 from your textbook to test your understanding. Well, the questions are as follow. Number 1, explain the importance of digestion process in humans. Name the structures in the alimentary canal that are involved in food digestion. Name the main cells in the gastric glands and explain the function of these cells. Lastly, the small intestine secretes a few types of enzyme to complete the digestion process. Explain how these enzymes complete the digestion process. Okay? Alright, so with that, I will end my video here. Thank you for watching and please do not forget to like and subscribe to my channel. Bye-bye.